Guys.
Hi, hi, hi. Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
No, thanks for saying hey. We love participation. Okay. Thank you so much for that. It's really awesome. Okay, everybody, we're going to get rocking and rolling here. We know your time is valuable and precious. So we're really excited to bring you Kara Bradley. Kara, I don't know, how do I introduce you? There's so many things I want to take. So did you guys know she turned professional skater at 15 years old? Did you guys know that? I bet you didn't know that. Maybe you did because you Googled her, but she became a professional at 15 years old. She's been doing this kind of work for the past 100 years. I mean that in the most respectful, kind way. She's just a rock star. I'm just going to highlight a little. Oh, I read her book, guys. I'm reading her book. It's called On the Verge, Wake Up, Show Up, and Shine. And Kara didn't know this, but she gave me this a while back, and I just started reading it last night, and I couldn't put it down. And I was like, Kara, man, I love reading books. I just don't have time to read them anymore, but I couldn't put yours down. That's the truth. Go check it out. On the Verge. It'll change your life. She didn't know I was going to do that. She didn't tell me I was going to do that. She didn't pay me anything to do that. I just did it because I mean it. It's from my heart. So, okay, I'm going to highlight real quick. She's worked with a lot of professional teams: LA Galaxy, Villanova men's basketball, football, and soccer, Penn State men's basketball, University of Pennsylvania women's soccer, Olympic development program. In 2020, she was named the top 12 most powerful women in the mindfulness movement. That's one of my favorite things about Kara, or just saying that. I don't know. It's kind of cool. But without further ado, Kara Bradley, behind all of those accomplishments and awards and things, she's just a really awesome, joyful person. And I'm so excited to have her. Welcome, Kara.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here. I mean, soccer is my heart is soccer, even though I've never played a game in my life, but I have been around it for a long time. So, the opportunity to support soccer resilience and all the teams and players that you all support, it just brings me a lot of joy. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to click back and forth as people enter. Welcome, everybody that's just joining us. I just introduced Kara. This is breaking news. So tweet it, Instagram it, Snapchat it, TikTok it, whatever you want to do. Kara is our newest ambassador of Soccer Resilience. Tim Bennett, let's welcome her to the team, everybody. Woo! Okay, we're really excited about that. And Kara is going to mention another kind of facet of this partnership a little bit later on in the whatever you call this thing we're doing today, which is what, a webinar? It's a webinar. We're doing a webinar. Okay, we're going to get rocking and rolling with what we have planned for you guys. Yeah, so if you have questions, y'all, chat them in. We'll get to them as well. And everybody that submitted questions through MailChimp, we will get to those as well. Probably at the end, some throughout, but most probably at the end. So Kara, the title of this kind of webinar was talking about mental fitness. Can you explain to us what mental fitness is?
Yeah, super simple. Think about physical fitness. We know now, I'm old enough to remember when the physical fitness industry started to rev up and we started to learn about how to get physically fit. People went out on jogs, then they started lifting weights, and then they started doing yoga. And I've been around for a long time in the physical fitness industry. And so about 6, 7, 8 years ago, I started to use the term mental fitness because as a strength coach, so I'm a certified strength coach. I've done a lot of training in understanding how to build muscle, how to get faster, how to stay strong, how to recover well. And so I started to realize that the same principles applied in the mind. And because many of us understand what we need to do to get physically fit, I thought I'd apply that same term in building mental strength. So I've been teaching mindfulness and meditation for a long time. And, whenever anybody hears that you're, a meditation teacher, you kind of get that glossed over look. Like, oh God, like I know I need to do this and I so don't want to. And so, I started to really look at that. Like, why don't we want to meditate? First of all, it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
And so what in my experience and 100 years now, thank you, Wells, of training bodies and minds, I have come down to some really simple core practices, most of which happen below the neck, that will help us to train to build mental endurance, mental strength, mental acuity, mental resiliency, and flexibility. All the kind of things that we want to do with our body, we can do with our mind as well. And it's not, I mean, soccer resilience brings extraordinary mindset training, incredible experience and diversity of practices for, to teams, coaches, refs, and players out there. And so I'm excited to bring in some different elements, some different practices, a lot of which start below the neck.
So you were the one to officially coin the term mental fitness, correct?
No.
When did you? We'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. When did you start calling it mental fitness? Was that like at the beginning of your practice or halfway through the last 10 years?
It was about 6-7 years ago. I started to really understand that, wow, this is something. There's something here. Because I saw, like I said, the glossed over looks with the mindfulness and the meditation. And I had been working with the Villanova team since 2004. So before there were mental skills coaches, before there was any of that are around now, I was out there with the players on yoga mats training their mind. And it was then that I realized, wow, I'm a mental strength coach. Just like they have physical strength coaches in their weight rooms, I'm doing the same thing for their mind. So that's when it all started to emerge.
Yeah, true pioneer. Jay Wright, right? Yeah, endorsed the book. I just remember seeing that. But 2004, yeah, I mean, I must imagine that not many people were doing that. I was in college. I don't know if I've told you this, but when we had our first meeting, when I first met you on the Soccer Resilience Ambassador webinar that we do once a month, or we used to, your perspective really kind of changed my outlook. It was kind of like a light bulb clicking, right? Cool. Because I was that glossed over look. I was that guy that was like, I'm not so sure about that. So I believe in what you're doing and what you have been doing. So to get into this, did you know, everybody that's listening, that your gut is connected to your brain? I tell everyone this. It's like why you have a gut instinct. Could you explain to us a little bit about the gut-brain axis? What do people call it? The GBX or something?
Yeah, gut-brain axis. So this is something that came across my screen about 3.5 years ago. Because I've spent 100 years, thank you, Els, 100 years doing.
I'm never gonna live that down.
I like to tell people that, I started with muscles and bones in the physical strength training. I went into the more energetic training with yoga and into meditation. So I owned a yoga studio in the Philadelphia area for 16 years. And so it was body, mind, yoga, meditation. From there, I kept going down and I spent a lot of time in the nervous system, about 4 or 5 years, understanding optimal flow states from our nervous system perspective. I thought that I had hit the root of optimal performance. How do we train, regulate, upregulate, downregulate our nervous system to perform our best? Well, about 3.5 years ago, I was approached by some people who said, listen, you need to know about the gut-brain connection when it comes to mental performance. And being the curious person that I am, I took a deep dive. I met with this company, Amari Global. We're going to talk about them. And I'll tell you, Wells, it was like that light bulb moment that you had back in December, I think it was, or November, when I learned about how the gut, heart, and brain signal all of these. It's all neurochemistry, a lot of neurochemistry and electricity are signaling, the gut is signaling to the brain how to feel, how to be motivated, how to focus, how to be agile. I realized I had found a missing piece in my training in how I was working with people. And so I dove right in. And so that is a long-winded way of saying that what we are learning in science, and I will tell you that this is new science. They're still calling it new because it's 6, 7, 8 years old. We are learning from research that our gut health directly impacts our mental health. And our gut health and our gut ecology, which is this microbiome, it's called, this gut, it resides in our lower intestines, trillions of bacteria and viruses and other non-human entities, right? Kind of sounds like woo, but it's the truth.
You lost me.
Trillions of bacteria, let's keep it at that, are signaling up to our brain. And if there's any disturbance in the field, in the channel, in the axis, there's going to be, get this, brain fog, confusion, distraction, sadness, lethargy, languishing, right? I mean, think about our culture right now. When we improve the ecology, the bacterial ecology in our gut microbiome, and we can talk about that, it starts to reduce inflammation. It starts to increase stress resiliency. The access becomes more of a 5G network than a 3G network. This is really important because remember those phones, like my mother has like an iPhone 6 and I was just with her and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't do anything with this thing, right? This is how, if our system is imbalanced, or what they call, if our gut is in dysbiosis is the science term, then we're going to have more inflammation, more nervousness, more, less stress resiliency, and our mental performance and our mental health will suffer. And so that is very macro, right? It's like our whole culture, could use a little more 5G when it comes to their mental acuity and clarity. But the problem is we're dealing with a lot of imbalances in our gut and our access, which is the immune system and the nervous system.
Yeah, one of the things I love about this, and I often say this when when we're working with teams or clubs or soccer resilience, is like, you don't take your brain out of your head and like hook it up to something, right? Like it's all connected. It's all connected. My mind affects my body affects my mind, my spirit, all that stuff is connected, right? And so basically what you're telling us is that we can practice mental fitness by treating our gut.
Yes. And our bodies, right? So I like to say mental fitness isn't all in your head. A lot of people are trying to figure things out from their mind.
Yeah.
Most of my work in my career has happened below the neck. And so mental fitness starts in the gut, like you just said. We now know it starts there, or, it can be really held back if there's gut imbalance.
Well, that's what really did it for me, because you said athletes, they're active, they want to move, they want to do things. So getting them to sit still. And I just think of like, I got 3 young boys. I don't know if you can hear them in the background. Hopefully you can't, but they're active. They want to do things, right? And so I just remember that's the light bulb that went off. It was like, you can actually use your body to train your mind. And this kind of brings me to one of the questions that we got for tonight. I think it's a good segue to that is, let me see if I can find it. Where are you? Did I put that up here?
Well, I'll say while you're looking for it, Wells, is that when I first learned about this, I was sitting at a small dinner with somebody, Dr. Sean Talbot. He actually wrote a book called Mental Fitness. It's an excellent book on how the body, the brain, and the biome interact. And it's very, very readable. And we sat next to each other and immediately became fast friends. He is a high performer. This guy has been, he's done the Leadville, which if you don't know what that is, it's a 100-mile road race.
It's like one of the toughest ever.
Toughest ever. He's done multiple Ironmans and more. And the guy's fit as a fiddle here at in his mid-50s. When we started talking, he's been in this work of psychonutrition, right? So it's like how psychology and nutrition are interrelated. He's been studying this for over 20 years. And I looked at him and I said, so tell me about sports performance. And he smiled the biggest smile. He said, Kara, this is the next wave to hit the sports performance world. He said, he said, I guarantee you in the next few Olympics, we are going to see more and more people talking about the microbiome, probiotics, neurotropics, and all of these plants that we can eat, ingest in order to enhance mental performance on the field and in life, really.
That's awesome. So all of you listening today, you're getting ahead of the ball game right now.
Totally.
Your thought leaders, your early adapters. Okay. Some of this might seem overwhelming to you, but you look into it, right? Look into it, study it, figure it out for yourself. That's one of the things we always tell the kids, right? Like, don't believe it because I'm saying it. Like, figure it out for yourself.
Right.
We actually encourage the challenging. We've only actually had, we had a question come in.
So
Sorry, what's his name?
Yeah, Dr. Sean Talbot, and he wrote a book called Mental Fitness. And he's been formulating plant-based human performance nutrition for over 20 years.
Sounds like a real dummy if you're asking me.
He's awesome.
Totally kidding. But Tim, I got a laugh out of you. I'll take it, buddy. This is a question that came in, y'all. Now more than ever, there's an emphasis on mental health and awareness in sport. Is there a possibility or point that we overemphasize and then start to cause overthinking, analyzing in athletes themselves?
I love this. Thank you, whoever asked that question. I love this question, especially from someone who spent most of her career below the neck, teaching physical practices that enhance the mind. I think we can overthink ourselves to death here. We can overthink, visualize, like over everything if we just churn and burn in our head. But when we realize that our mental health begins down below the neck and we start to rely on other practices to help settle the muddy water, to help clear the channels, to help us become more available to intelligence, to our sports acumen, whatever your sport is. So yes, I want to just say emphatically yes. And so that's why in cross-training for mental fitness, which is something I talk about a lot, there are 5 core practices. I'll just talk about a couple of them tonight. The first core practice in building mental fitness is to move your body, right? I mean, that sounds like a no-brainer for those of you on this call, right? But the statistics out there, most people aren't moving. Just by moving our bodies, we're increasing the blood flow throughout the body, oxygenated blood through our body up to our brain, boom. So movement is number 1. Nutrition is number 2. We know now, like I was saying before, how food is mood, how what we eat impacts our ability to think clearly, to be agile, to stay focused, to stay high and up and excited, to connect with others. So it's nutrition, food, and then sleep, right? These 3 things, this is all below the neck practices. Sleep, we know this, sleep is having its heyday in the world of research and out there on the podcast. We know we cannot go 2 days without a good night's sleep. It starts to impact how we perform mentally. So those 3 practices alone, move, breathe, or move, nutrition, and sleep alone are 3 just simple things that if we get those 3 things right, we will feel clearer, calmer, stronger, more confident in our mind, and we'll have access. And I think this is really important, Wells. I mean, you as a pro player, you have stored in your body this memory of every practice, every game, everything a coach has said to you, every goal, every own goal, right? Like everything you've done in your career is stored. Somehow your physical intelligence can grab it and go. But if you're muddied in your mind, It's almost like the garage door gets closed off and you get so stuck in your head in either, you know, performance anxiety or overthinking or not being able to bounce back after you've done something in a game. And all of a sudden you don't have access anymore to that physical intelligence. And so what we're doing and what we're talking about here about optimizing the gut brain connection is about cleaning and clearing up those channels so that you have access to everything in your body mind. Makes you a really smart player.
Yeah. So what I think of when you say that is I have a lot of it stored up, and the majority of it, sadly, which is I'm working on this, right? Because we're all works in progress, having a growth mindset. Sadly, the majority of it is negative, right? So you bring the psychology in, the majority of our thoughts are negative. Does addressing the gut brain help with that stuff as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you know what? I'd like to talk about how our gut gets thrown off balance.
Please. Yeah.
Because I think that's helpful. Our gut gets thrown off balance in 4 ways. And let me just tell you, I'm a simple teacher. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a nutritionist. I've just been studying this stuff for a long time. And I get really excited because I think we're really on to something, a really big paradigm shift when it comes to our mental health. So the first thing that will throw our gut off is nutrition. So, you know, poor food, the Twinkies, the sugar, the white flour, the white sugar, the all the pollutants, you know, toxins in our packaged foods, that will throw the bacteria, the little buggies, the little bacteria that are in our gut microbiome. It will help feed those bacteria that feed on sugar and salt and fat and all, you know, the mixtures, those bad mixtures, I will just say. So those kind of unhelpful bacteria will start to flourish in the gut, and it will kill away the good stuff, right? So that becomes an imbalanced gut. The second thing that throws off our gut microbiome is stress. So think about it. All is when you get stressed, do you not eat? What's that?
I don't have any of that, by the way.
I mean, we all do.
I'm kidding.
Do you not eat well? Do you eat too much? Do you crave certain foods? Do you get knots in your stomach? Like, do you have to go to the bathroom all the time? You know, this is all an indication that your gut is feeling the effects of stress and it has to do with our nervous system, specifically our vagus nerve. So stress throws it off. Okay, so now we have poor food, stress, right? So we're just talking about most of us. And then there's pharmaceuticals. Now, I'm not bashing pharma. You know, if you need it, you need it. But it will throw off your gut ecology. Like when you take a dose of antibiotics, it really throws it off. You need to repopulate your gut with probiotics in order to have a flourishing microbiome again. And then there's environmental toxins, all the stuff that, you know, we breathe, the cleaners, the stuff we put on our skin, and, you know, a lot of the stuff it's hard to avoid in life. So the couple of things we can really control is 1, our food, and 2 is our stress. And so, you know, when we get those things right, and so it's food and food supplements, because our nutrients in our food, like the broccoli today is not the broccoli 40 years ago. We're just missing key nutrients. And so to start with, good food and good food supplements, targeted supplements, will really help right up the chain through the immune system, the nervous system, right up to the brain, in improving our mental health, our mental wellness, and our mental fitness.
It's impossible to get that 100 years within this hour, no doubt. I know that we do want to keep on moving though, for sure. So you introduced it a little bit earlier, Amari Global. Part of the package with Care Bradley coming on is Soccer Resilience is partnering with Amari Global. They're going to be our mental fitness nutrition partner. So can you tell us how you chose Amari? And I couch this in the kindest manner, but like there is so much BS out there. There are so many supplement companies out there. What is it? Because I'm sure you've seen them in your 100 years, right? So what is it about Amari that attracted you to them? And
yeah, it's a great question. Well, first I'll tell you, I've never represented a supplement company before. I was not looking to represent a supplement company. When they found me and they asked me to come out to LA to meet with the founding team, it was because of my work in mental performance and mental strength. And Amari is trademarked the mental wellness company. So they're really the prime mover in this gut brain space when it comes to improving mental wellness. It fits like a glove into what I was doing with the nervous system and breath training and movement and mindfulness and yoga and performance training. It was like, I mean, I hate to say it was kind of like a no-brainer. And so, yeah.
Can I interrupt you real quick and just
Please.
ask, because I think it's important for everyone listening, why didn't you partner with a supplement company before?
Because I was working on all of these other body disciplines. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know in research how much the gut impacted mental performance. And like I said, the research is 5, 6, 7 years old. Amari's been on the forefront of that research. As it comes out, they're able to get products into market. And it just didn't exist before. There could be some one-off plants, right? But to pull together proprietary nutrition system targeted for gut-brain optimization and mental fitness, to me, I was like, yeah, this is going to make everything I do and everything I say better for my clients and my students. And so this is how I just want to educate people on it, because we spend a lot of money out there. You know, we spend a lot of money on training, on coaching, on programs, on, club teams and travel. I was there as a soccer mom. And so I just want to educate people on the whole package, because it could really make a difference in a child's life, in a player's life. And they then may be able to hear their coaches better, or not get as stressed before a game, or shake things off a little bit better, just because we've changed the neurochemistry in the body, just even a little bit.
And doing that through the products of Amari.
Right.
While you mention it, the testimonials, can you give us an example of one? And one that comes to mind for me, you don't have to use this one, is a pro women's player. You don't have to use that one.
Yeah, no, I have one in mind that I think is a great story. And in last November, I was approached by a father of a D1 basketball player who was in his senior year, and he was a guard, captain, high scorer, slump, big time slump. And he had found out about me through my work with Villanova basketball and said, could you coach my son? And I said, well, I can, but I don't really coach one-on-one anymore. But I'll tell you, if I were to coach your son, what I would suggest first, before getting into any of the mind stuff, is to get him on a simple gut brain protocol to see what happens. And he said, okay, let's do that. And so we did. And we got him on a Happy Mind Pack, very simple, targeted micronutrients for gut brain optimization. And I swear, this is the God's honest truth. He was back on top within a month. His team won their league, the Patriot League. First time team went to the tournament, and his father texted me and said, I don't know what you've given my son, but just keep giving it to him. So, I have some other stories like that, but that one was really, it was so powerful and potent. And it made me so happy to know that I could help in that way.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And if you're anything like me and you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, right. Like your brain goes in and you're like, yeah, right. But here's the cool thing about Kara, which is why it's so cool to have her on. Just like, in addition to all her 100 years and all her cool things she's done, she's just a good person, right? She cares about people. She wants to use her platform and voice to change the world. And so just my advice to all you guys, just don't knock it till you try it. But one of the things that she mentioned, we have on tap, and we'll introduce to you a little bit later. So as we move along here, Kara, Amara Global, did you say everything you wanted to say about how you chose them? Okay, cool. So you're a parent too, correct?
Yes.
Easiest job in the world. Once you guys know that. Kidding. Greatest, hardest. Can you tell us a little about your experience as a mom and having two girls play soccer their whole lives?
Yeah. So my daughters played for FC Delco in the Philadelphia area. They were ODP. One was a regional ODP player. And I did a lot of coaching for their teams for ODP when they were involved as well. And, they were involved in the beginning of the ECNL. We traveled a ton and it was stressful. I mean, there's no doubt it was intense, very intense. I have one daughter that went on to play. She played at Yale. And my other daughter decided to, after an ACL tear, decided to not go that route, which was fine. But I know, and this was, 10 years ago, I guess when they were playing FC Delco, I know things have just intensified even more now when it comes to recruiting. And so, I mean, I've been there.
So as advice that you have for parents, as parents listening to this, for myself, for sure, how can they help their kids become more open to mental fitness?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think that, if I were to give advice, like just from where I sit now, just as a parent, my husband and I will talk about this, like we would have had them in more training and less games. Right? They had a great trainer and he was so talented, and they had so much fun when they trained with him, and I wish they had more of him and less of the like traipsing across the country for, a couple of games, but that's just my opinion. But as far as their mental fitness goes, again, it's not so much what's happening in their mind. It's how are they stepping on the field physically, right? Whether for practice or for games. Because if their body is fatigued from not enough sleep, if they've got inflammation in their body because of poor food choices, and listen, I know it's not easy, but if we can, 80-20, right? 20% being the crappy stuff and 80% being the good stuff, it's going to help decrease the inflammation in their body, which is going to increase their ability to have that mental acuity and flexibility and stress resiliency. And then also just play, right? So there's some other aspects of cross-training for mental fitness. One is just exploring and playing and being in nature and relaxing and recovering well. And then the other is connection. And I'm not a parent of a 15-year-old now. I can't imagine, with this. And so giving them the opportunity to connect with other humans physically, to be in nature, to connect with animals and plants, and just to be in community with people does wonders for our mental fitness as well.
Yeah, the thing that comes to mind for me, and I'll never forget it when I heard it, but it's kind of, I forget the name of it, like your food is your mood.
Yes.
In parenting, more is caught than taught. Like I remember my kids were like 2, I'd sit them down and have like a 30-minute lecture about how they can use this to like benefit them, and I just really realized, and something that I preach to myself, is more is caught than taught. Right. So I don't know. I just think of the phone, right? Being around my kids with the phone. One of the cool things I've done, just to kind of go off the question I asked you, was my kids see me doing things, whether it's affirmations, whether it's on my knees praying, whether it's, whatever it is. Breathing is a big one I teach my kids. Smell the brownies and blow out the candles, right? Teach them to breathe the correct way through their belly and stuff. But yeah, so anyway, it just made me think of more is caught than taught. You as a parent, if you adopt this, because it's important that you make sure you take care of yourself first, right? So that you can take care of the other people, kind of like putting your oxygen mask on when you're in a plane. I digress. All right, moving along. And I know you said this earlier, but can you talk further about, is mental fitness all in your head a little bit? A couple notes that come to mind just to spark things for you is biology drives your psychology. Villanova, get comfortable with this. Dr. Brad, that's a specific question from Dr. Brad. Work you've done with the Galaxy, and how have you, I'll stop there.
Yeah. Cool. So your biology is one of my favorite sayings. Your biology drives your psychology, which is really a lot about what I've been talking about here, that it's not all in your head, that how we feel physically, how rested we are, how nourished we are, how open we are for blood flow to flood us, that is going to drive how we feel and how we perform mentally as much as anything else. And believe me, I am a fan of mindset training, visualization, sports psychology, all of that. I love it. But I also feel like, but I am like the cheerleader. And by the way, I was a cheerleader once, but I truly like, that's what I am. I'm a cheerleader for our physical intelligence and our ability for our body, body practices to really help us in our lives. So when I worked with the Villanova teams, I would use the body to help train the mind. So sometimes I'd be working with, 200 athletes at one time. I'd get them all in this big, it was called the Butler at Villanova. And we'd have all kinds of teams in there because a lot of the teams couldn't afford to pay me, right? Like the soccer teams, right? It's football, basketball, they've got the money, but we'd invite them all in. And they'd all be on their yoga mats. And so I would pull them in and out of poses, very simple, and help them to then look at their mind. So I'd have them in a challenging pose. One of them is called frog, standing frog, where your feet are separated, wider than hip, your toes are out, and you're in a squat. And then you're just holding it. And you can imagine like the linebackers, they're like dying, sweating, and so I would hold them there and gently with compassion, help them to see their mind, help them to watch fear arise, help them to see doubt cloud their vision, help them to see all these things that happen in a split second on the field, and so we would practice staying with it. We would practice moving through it. We would practice all that so that when they walked on the field, their body, again, that memory, their body knew they were safe, they're okay, their mind could settle, they can come back to focus. And so that was the get used to being uncomfortable because, competition is not comfortable. And all those demons are going to come up at some point.
Yeah, I say often, when kids are doing the beep test or you're working out, you're training your mind. You just don't make that correlation. So that's one of the things that we try to encourage coaches to make that correlation, right? To speak that into them while they're doing the exercise. I thought that was really cool. What about your work with the LA Galaxy?
Yeah.
Team, the Galaxy you just did recently. Could you speak to us about that?
Yeah, so that was really, really fun. I hope to continue working with them. So I represent a wellness brand called Muse. Muse is a headset. They're wearable. It's a brain sensing headband that I've been working with them for about 6 years, and it helps you to train your mind through meditation. It's a really effective tool. And they work with a lot of athletes. I've done a bunch of sports specific meditations for Muse over the years. And so they brought me in to do very specific meditations for the LA Galaxy. And I work closely with their mental skills coach, Michael. His name is a little complicated, so I'm not going to mispronounce it. But he was fantastic because he is so into the neuroscience of mental strength training that we were so specific on the type of meditation, specific types of meditation. So for instance, I did a meditation for them. He gave me these parameters. Okay, post game on the plane, needs to let go and allow the body to recover, and so it was very specific, guided that way. Another one was about to step onto the field for training or for competition, short meditation to uplift, right? To activate the mind. So a lot of people think meditation's one thing, you kind of like go to sleep. But what we're doing is we're just training the mind to be in different mental patterns, specific intentional mental patterns. So that was really fun. In fact, I just was emailing with him just to see if there's been a good response. And so far we're getting a good response.
I can't wait to tell Dr. Brad about this, because one of the things, and we just spent a lot of time recently on it with St. Louis City SC, the MLS Next and MLS Next Pro teams, is mental recovery, right? You hear all about the prepping and the pregame and all that stuff, and there really doesn't tend to be too much focus on the recovery. So it sounds like the LA Galaxy guy knows what he's talking about. Huh?
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to have a conversation with you about that, Wells.
So this was something that we plugged in last minute. I don't know if it's something you want to get to, but would you like to teach us just a little something real quick?
Sure.
Or you want to move on and get to the questions?
No. I'd love to offer you something that I developed with the Villanova football team. I'll change the wording a little bit just because football is a different sport than soccer. But the whole idea is to give yourself a set of words that will help you to really come into presence very quickly. So again, we're training our body, mind to be fully present on a dime. And so, especially if you get thrown off, right? If something happens in the game and all of a sudden your mind, doubt starts to come in. And so what I offered the football team, and I actually offer this to like CEOs and executives as well, because you can do it in a boardroom. Yeah. But if you think about a football, the line, when the line of scrimmage, when everybody's getting ready, they're very planted. And so the whole idea was feet planted, eyes steady. When you can think of your feet, it takes you as far away from your mind as possible to the lowest part of your body. So everybody right now, just wiggle your toes, right? Just wiggle your toes and press your feet into the ground, right? That helps you to come into more body-mind presence than just trying to show up mentally. So when you plant your feet, that's one thing. But for soccer, I would say find your feet, because I know like before a whistle, before a throw in, before a kick, you kind of want to have happy feet, right? You don't want to be so cemented down. But feet planted or find your feet. Now, eyes steady. So for a moment, take your eyes off the dreaded screen. Just look up and allow your eyes to settle on something, a number, like I'm looking at a flower in a picture right now. And it's not a hard focus. It's just a gaze. Our eyes are flitting about most of the time. And it causes this frenetic energy and this frenetic mental energy as well. So when we can help ourselves, our body, mind just come in, boom, feet planted, eyes steady, feet planted, eyes steady, or find your feet steady, eyes steady. It is that mental reminder to just be here, be here, be here, 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 because it's in the present moment. We are so much more intelligent, so much more powerful, intuitive. We know where our teammates are. There's a saying that I like to say, in fact, I used it in this meditation for the Galaxy, and that is a distracted mind has no power. A directed mind has limitless potential. When our mind is directed, focused here, 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 we have access to intelligence that is beyond what we could ever imagine. We know where our teammates are. We see the field in a whole different way. So that is hopefully something you can carry in your pocket.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the way to make that part of who you are is to do it once and you're good?
No. Over and over and over and over. But you can't just say it, right? You've got to embody it. You've actually got to do it. Feet, find your feet, steady your gaze. Find your feet, steady your gaze. And so you can do it throughout the day. You can do it when you're driving the car. You can do it when you're sitting in a Zoom meeting.
Cool. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
The easier it becomes to remember, and then the body remembers, and then
Cool.
you're there. Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Running a little on time, and there's so much I want to get to. It's just like impossible to do.
Yeah.
What do you think next about popcorn in these questions? Because we got
Sure.
a bunch of them. Sure. So somebody wrote in, he actually just left, but he said, how young is too young for youth players to be put in charge of these concepts? Is the current youth sports psychology, mental fitness movement moving too fast? I know my answer to that question. I want to hear yours.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I'll be very honest with you. I have a little issue with mindfulness for kids because kids are mindful. Like kids, you know, put them out in, out in the backyard, hanging with their dog. They're mindful. They're in flow. Kids are in flow. So I worry about bringing in external mind frames too young, but I also, awareness needs to be built. Awareness of how they're feeling, I think, is really important. My daughter, the one who played soccer in college, she now focuses on emotional intelligence, becoming aware of your body, your emotions, and your mental state is really, really important. So I think and I don't know if this is really answering your question, but is to ask your kids, like, how are you feeling? Like, give me some words. How does not just your mind, but like, how does your body feel right now? Where's their tension? How's your heart? Like, what's your breath like? This is helping to build awareness, because once we're aware of our state, then we have more control or more ability to change our state.
Yeah, I love that answer. It just shows how honest you are. I think emotional intelligence is all in this. It's all in it. You can't separate it, right? They just bring a lot of that stuff together. The thing that I would say to that question is, I think the onus really is put on the leadership. And I'm not saying that like the leadership should make the kids do mindfulness. What I am saying is that there's too many uneducated and inexperienced coaches coaching our young kids whose brains are developing and very impressionable, right? And so I just think of my coaching philosophy since I've become a parent, it is night and day. And we need to do more in this country to educate those coaches and the leaders within clubs to understand these concepts so that they can then be aware of situations with kids and the players that they're working with and how their influence impacts them, right? I'm such a believer. Coaches will impact more kids in a year than most people will in a lifetime. They're so vital to our society. But I think too, the onus is really on the leadership to say, hey, the game isn't just technical, tactical, and physical. Holy cow, it's psychosocial, and psychosocial really drives a lot of that, right? And so just being aware and educated on these philosophies. I'm digressing there, but I think really the onus is on the leadership to understand this stuff. But I loved your answer. Next question. What's the best method in your experience with how to keep your head when you make a mistake in a game? And maybe you could just say what you just did, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Come back to your feet.
Feel your feet. Yeah.
Come back to your feet. Like your feet are present.
Yes.
Your hands, right? Like you'll see a lot of, players clapping, or everybody's got, something physical to bring yourself back. Your body's always present. It's your mind that can be back, forward, or in la la land, right? Or in doubt or in fear.
Yeah.
So get your mind back into your body. Find your feet, clap your hands, do something physical, slap your thighs, and just get on.
So Sam Lofton, who's also one of our ambassadors and a rock star, she did not like next play because it made her get up in her head like, oh, I got to make it for a mistake. And so her thing was feel your feet. She would just feel your feet. Yeah. So love that hearing it again from you. Is salt intake actually bad for your gut? Well, athletes have always been encouraged to keep high salt intake for hydration.
So, what I would say for that, I mean, like I said, I'm not a nutritionist, but I mean, if the salt is coming from crappy food, too many chips and honestly, a lot of the, not great electrolyte sports drinks out there with a lot of sugar, it's going to have a negative impact. So I don't think that salt intake just on its own is going to destroy or throw off the microbiome, but I think it's in what container it's coming in that will have that impact.
Cool. Thank you for that. Next question. Given a consistent diet, can mindfulness exercises increase beneficial gut microbiota? Is that a word?
Yeah, that's a great question.
New word, Tim.
There you go. There you go. Well, good for you. You know, it's a great question because mindfulness, right, when done, mindfulness is really just paying attention on purpose. It's just being here without judging, just, okay, here I am. It's awareness building. And what it does and is shown to do is reduce or help reduce the impact of stress. We become more stress resilient. So when we practice mindfulness, when we're able to come back, when we're able to be present for our meals, present for our conversations, present when we're practicing or doing homework or whatever we're doing, there's less stress. The body is in less of a fight or flight. It's in more of a coherent state. Coherence is really this optimal state of what we call calm clarity in mindfulness language. So what I talked about before, one of the things that throws off the gut balance is stress, is the vagus nerve, is being in fight or flight, is heightened or imbalanced cortisol levels. So when you are more mindful and practicing mindfulness, you're going to be less stressed or less in those heightened states more often, which is going to then be able to help the microbiome be more balanced. So I want to say one thing about the microbiome that we haven't gotten to, and I think it's super important because it was one of those things, ahas for me, back 3.5 years ago when I was introduced to the founders of Edamame. When I learned that 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut microbiome, it blew my mind. 90% of the feel-good serotonin, that.
Yeah, could you explain that just for people that might not know what serotonin does for you?
So serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps us to feel good. It is part of a cascade of neurochemicals that together help us find flow, help us be in optimal performance, help us connect with one another. So it's mood support is the serotonin. So 90% of our serotonin, 70% of our dopamine, right? Most of us know what dopamine is, but if you're not sure, dopamine is our motivation neurotransmitter. It helps us get up and go. It helps us stay in action. Then there's norepinephrine. 70% of our norepinephrine is produced in our gut. That's our focusing, attention, our ability to stay to concentrate. And then there's GABA. 70% of our GABA is produced in our gut. And that is the neurotransmitter that helps us to relax, the relaxation response. So all of these neurotransmitters are produced in our gut. If our gut is off, guess what's happening? We're not having optimal production. Then if our body is inflamed, I always do this, the signaling between our gut and our brain becomes that 3G network instead of the 5G network. There's brain fog, confusion, distraction, mood swings, right? So it's so exciting. And Wells, I'll tell you why I'm so excited about it is because I have worked with thousands and thousands of people in my 100 years, right? I've seen that look. Like, Kara, I know what I should be doing. And I can't get myself to do it, to practice, to train, my brain. So what we know now is modulate or balance the gut microbiome in the ways we talked about, breath training, nervous system training, sleep, good food, rest, nature, connection. All of those things are going to optimize what's happening in our body, which then drives our psychology to be more focused, more attentive, more flexible, more agile, more open and receptive, better learning. It's it's just very exciting.
That's awesome. And Kara, y'all, is so, I feel a little bit maybe concerned with not being salesy about Amari products. But what she's really, and correct me if I'm wrong, what she's speaking to is a lot of this stuff, the problems, the issues that we're talking about can be addressed by your gut, through your gut and through Amari products. We have, which I'd love for her to talk about. And so when I think of this, I think of like, wow, you're talking about for me to change my diet. So it means I have to stop, which is like, I'm 38 years old. Like, man, that's really hard. So how do I think of change? Like, okay, instead of one giant step, how do I take that little step? And to me, my thought process is, which I'm telling you here, is that little step can be the products.
Right. And there's no quick fix, and I'm not here to push a bunch of it, things that people don't need.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, at this point in my career, I just see this as such a helpful and pivotal for many missing piece in our training, and it's micronutrients that we just can't get in our everyday food. So let me just give you a couple of examples. So what Amari has done is to really become the prime mover, the prime leader in addressing the gut, the brain, and the gut-brain connection, the whole system. So they have, and this Dr. Sean Talbot that I spoke about earlier is really the genius behind this, behind pulling together a blend, different blends of probiotics, prebiotics, micronutrients, adaptogens, which are plant-based products to help us become more stress resilient, neurotropics, which are plant-based products to help enhance brain function, other nutrients that help decrease inflammation so that signaling becomes 5G instead of 3G. And also just a variety of diversity of different types of micronutrients that help all of the bacteria in the microbiome flourish, the good guys, right? Those little guys, we want them to flourish so they're producing serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and GABA. And so for me, it's step one. It really comes down to that. People I work with, like I told you about that basketball player, it's just step one. Let's start here, because this may move the needle just enough for you that you're now hearing your coach differently, that you're now focused on school differently, that your mood is just better and you're coming out of your room and away from your screen a little more. These are stories that I hear. So for me right now, at this stage of bringing mental fitness to others, it's about education and sharing this information. Right now, as you said early on, Wells, right now we're still early adopters in this. But like my friend Sean Talbot told me back 3 years ago, this wave is huge and it's coming. And because so many are suffering with, our kids alone, anxiety, depression, ADHD, and just brain fog, lethargy. We need all hands on deck. And so that's why I'm here. And I'm so excited to be partnering with Soccer Resilience, because the work that you do is so important in training coaches and refs and parents and players, with the mental skills. And this is just the other half. It's the physical piece. It's the step one. It's the root.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, we're really excited about it because our mission is to change lives, and we've seen that. We've heard examples of it, and oftentimes you don't get to see the fruit of your labor, but we've been fortunate enough to hear from people that said, you've changed our kids' lives. The girls that were throwing up, the girls that were having panic attacks, the guys that wouldn't get out of their cars, they're playing now. And to be able to add this to our core is great. So could you just fill in everyone that's listening what we have available for them, just quickly, what
Yes.
you've helped us put together on our website, which I'll put in the chat.
It's really simple protocols that we've put up on the Soccer Resilience website. For kids, there's two different options for kids. And then there's a teens adults option. It's called the Happy Mind Pack. And that will help you feel more motivated, more sharp, better mood pretty quickly. The kids packs have probiotic, prebiotic fibers, and nutrients, micronutrients that they're most likely not getting in their foods. There's one product called Kids Mood that I think we put in a couple of the packs because it is so fantastic. I take it every day, and it has saffron. It's a saffron based product, and you can't just like put the saffron on your rice and get this kind of benefit. And the saffron just alone, saffron extract has been shown to have equivalent, the equivalent effects for restlessness as Ritalin, and the equivalent effects for depression as Prozac. I mean, what we're learning from research is just incredible when it comes to what these plant-based products can do for us at the microbiome level, at the nervous system level, the immune system, and at the brain functioning.
And there's the cool thing about this is, and maybe you can just tell them a little bit more, but the money back guarantee, there's no risk here. You can return the bottles empty actually after 90 days if you want, and you get your money back. So
absolutely.
Anything else you need to add there?
No GMOs, plant-based, certified. There's a ton of clinical data behind every product. And money back guarantee, 90 days. So Mario,
sugar-free, which I love. Sugar-free, caffeine-free, soy-free, dairy-free.
Right.
There's a lot of information on our website, and there's links on our website. So if you follow what I put you in the chat there, will take you to the website. Right. So I'm going to put Kara Bradley's email, which she's going to tell me right now.
Yes.
If anyone wants to follow back up with her.
After this. You all are, it's Kara at karabradley.net. Kara with a C. Kara at karabradley.net. You are all, first adopters, right? You're early adopters here with Soccer Resilience. We want to work with you and your kids, your players. And so I would love to be in close contact. If you decide to try one of these protocols, let's stay in touch. This is about sharing and educating, because if it works for you, then we can share it with others and it'll work for others. And like I said before, for me, it's step one. It's a no-brainer, especially for parents with kids that, are having some issues now with anxiety, depression, attention, brain fog, any of it, or that just really want to move the needle on their mental performance and their overall performance. So let's stay in close touch, and it'll be really fun to get to know what's working for you.
NJYSA, what's happening? What's happening? Come on, waiting for you to get in the game here.
Mr. Ika's on.
Yeah, what's up, David? Just had to throw that in there. So
hey, everybody, love you guys. Thank you.
David's a rock star. We did have a couple questions real quick that if you want to popcorn them, I just want to, so appreciate you guys signing up. We want to answer your question real quick. Kara, this is for you. Have you ever heard of a colon hydro cleanse? And do you think that it has the ability to clean up one's gut-brain axis? You know anything about that? Again, understanding you're not a nutritionist, you're not Sean Talbot.
Yeah, Sean Talbot. Anything that, can safely, clean and give yourself a reset is great. I would just, I haven't done it, so I can't really speak about it, but I think that, taking time to let your body settle and rebalance, our bodies are amazing, when given the right support. So give it a try. Let me know. I'd love to hear.
Yeah. And y'all, we so appreciate you joining us. We really do. You're rock stars. We hope this helps. Again, like Kara said, really the main goal here is to educate. We're not trying to push anything on you. Check them out if you like. I just put the link back there. And again, if you don't like, well, then don't check it out, because you know what? I hate to be told what to do, and I'm not telling you what to do. Okay. I promise you, I'm not telling you what to do. Actually, don't check them out, guys. Don't check them out. It's reverse psychology for you there, okay? It doesn't work with my kids often. But Kara, thanks. You're a rock star. We'd love to keep going. Want to be respectful of your time. Send Kara an email, y'all. It's right there if you need it. Kara at karabradley.net. We love you. Appreciate you. Any closing words, Kara? Anything I missed?
Your mental health, your mental fitness is not a luxury anymore. It's something I've been saying a lot, and neither is it for your kids. I mean, we need to really prioritize our mental health, and it starts down in our bodies, with sleep, with movement, with good nutrition, supplements, if you choose, connection, sharing, exploring. We're in a tough spot right now in our world, and so prioritizing mental health in your family, I think, is of utmost importance.
Yeah. And again, guys, readers are leaders.